Leroy, very excited to talk to our next guest, an absolute legend, a Titan for the Miami Dolphins. He's got a new book coming out in just about a month's time. Head On, and you guys can pre-order it now wherever books are available. A memoir. Larry Csonka joining us here on the show. Zonk, appreciate the time. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
The thing I wanted to get to first, when I was watching your promo video on social media, and you were saying that you wish that you had gotten the chance to write this book when Don Shula was still with us, because you wanted to harken back on all the conflicts back in the day and see how you guys would pick it apart. But you said in the video, you'd look up on the wall and you'd see these slogans that Don Shula had, and you thought they were stupid. And I just can't imagine that for all of us thinking Don Shula, what a legend. Larry Csonka's like, oh my God, again with the quotes on the wall.
Well, you got it. There's a time factor. You're overlapping a lot of things there. When Don Shula came to the Dolphins in 1970, we were the losingest team in the NFL. And he had a pretty winning record at Baltimore. But I didn't, my football experience at Syracuse and then the first couple of years in the NFL was, I just didn't believe that things being put up on the wall, little mottos and things would, that was something we did in Boy Scouts. I just had a different view of it. And, I wasn't sure where he was coming from, but where he was coming from was he wanted to install in us the sincerity about what we were doing. In other words, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing right. You can cut to that. That's one of the things he put up on the wall. You look at that and you think, well, that's nice to put on the wall, but we're going to play professional football here and it's a different world than that. But slowly I realized from 1970 or the next year or two, how emphatic he was about those things, how it wasn't just a slogan. The winning edge was what he was talking about was the slight edge. And you know about this. The slight edge is the intelligence factor, being prepared. And, to put that on a wall, the winning edge, you glance. But once I got to understand him, the coach, and once I understood what he was talking about, the reason those slogans were on the wall to remind you that every moment counts when you're studying and preparing for a game. And that's what he was talking about.
Larry, do you find yourself being impatient with some of the mistakes that players make today because of the mantra that you lived by? Right? Like I just find like some of the penalties that players commit, like it's baffling to me how the simplest of things, the things you work on every day, getting off on the ball, listening to the cadence, going the right way. You do this every day of your football career, not professional, football career. And then you start a football game and somebody jumps off sides on the first two plays. I'm racking my brain. I'm like, what is going on here?
Well, I just tell you about Shula, how he applied. That's what that was all about.
Right.
Was that exactness. He demanded exactness on the field of the day of the game, but he also demanded exactness the entire week leading up to the game. If he thought you were going through the motions, the worst thing you could do for him was go through the motions. You know what I'm talking about. You line up and you're not really paying attention, but you more or less got it, and it's the same old. No, that didn't work for him. He was so intense. If he thought for a moment that you're gliding, just coasting through practice, he would stop practice just to harass you about it. And he got very vocal. He got very personal on occasions out there on the practice field about whether we were paying the fiddler, so to speak. In other words, making the sacrifice and being first person about what we were doing on the field.
You think players are more sensitive now? Because I even remember, my college coach was Bo Schembechler. He was a yeller, right? Like, I had coaches that were yellers, but I didn't take it personal. I knew it was all in, in trying to get us to be the best we could be. But nowadays, it's like coaches have to take a different approach because they don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Yeah, I don't know how you coach football when you don't hurt people's feelings. You either do the job or you don't. And if you make a mistake, the worst thing you could do for Don Shula was if you made a mistake was to duplicate that. If you made the same mistake the next week or during practice, or you did that twice in a row, oh my gosh, it was that was a mortal sin as far as he was concerned. That was the epitome of what he was talking about, not having the winning edge, which is that sharpness, that key factor. You just can't. Well, I don't know how you talk about that in terms of yesteryear when we played and when Don Shula was a coach, and how you apply that now. I really don't know. The game's changed a great deal. The game's still very exciting. I like to watch it. But when you talk about ball control and really going, head to head, trying to push the ball down somebody's throat or trying to set them up and go to the fake them out, you had to know what you were doing. You had to know who you were playing. You had to study it. You had to rehearse it, and it had to be precise. To lay back, I guess it's more competitive today because the passing game has been enhanced so much, and Don Shula is one of the reasons that happened. He was, he was head of the rules committee for a long time, and I think he's one of the reasons that it's where it's at today. But it's much more about the past today than it was when I played, certainly when you played.
Zonk, that's until December. In December, when people need to win football games, when people need to run out the clock to win a championship, they always look back and try to get a running game going in.
It's too late.
Yeah.
Damage is done.
That's way too
late.
Yeah. Zog, what was it like for you getting a chance to visit the facility pretty recently? It looked like you had a good time there with Coach. Did that mean something to you? How much did you enjoy that?
Well, Coach McDaniel took me around, and we looked at the facilities. Oh my goodness, we had at Biscayne College. I don't know where to start. I mean, you're talking from the very bare basics is what we had, and at that time, when we had that facility put together, when Shula engineered that, when he first came as the new head coach at Dolphins, it was a step up from what we had the years prior. We were practicing in a baseball stadium, and it was just really, pardon the expression, but it was half-assed. When he got there, he had, he fixed up the facility at Biscayne College, and it was much better than what we'd had. To compare Biscayne College against what they have today oh my goodness, I just, it's just, it's like visiting, the palace or something. I don't know how to even, my gosh, just, players, they eat, the facility, the training facility, my goodness, it looks like a emergency room of a hospital somewhere. I mean, it's just laid out so well. There's so much money spent, and things are so well, they're prepared for every possibility. If it rains a little bit, if the wind blows too hard, they've got all these things set up. I'm still looking for the old practice field where you just had some bleachers on the side and a fence around the outside, and that was it. That was our facility.
What were your impressions of Coach McDaniel? I saw some quotes where you were comparing his hire a little bit to Shula's, what it was kind of unexpected, but what did you make of the man getting a chance to meet him?
Well, I don't know him that well, and I didn't get to spend that much time with him, but he is impressive, and he's a man of detail. Now, how much the players listen to him, that the proof will be in the pudding. Right. There's been some real changes with personnel. It appears that they're pointed towards a very positive result. It reminded me a lot of when Shula came in 1970 and everything just turned around. That's kind of the way Coach McDaniel's attacked it. He's turning everything around, and he's making use of all those facilities. And I think he's not as loud and holler as much as like Shula did on the field, but he in his own way, I think he makes his point. I just watched him for one practice, which is nothing. I mean, that's just the little time I had there. But he impresses me as a guy that's detail oriented, and he's got winning on his mind. It'll be interesting to see how the season starts.
We're speaking with the great Larry Csonka. Got a new book coming out, Head On. It's going to be available everywhere October 4th, but you can pre-order it now. Really good looking book for Dolphin fans. It's aqua and orange.
Yeah.
Got Zonk right there up front. It looks absolutely fantastic. I need to get a story though from this, Zonk, because I'm reading in the brief on the book, you confronting thieves with sawed-off shotguns. What is this?
That's in yeah.
What is this story? What do you mean you were confronting thieves back in the day with shotguns?
Well, in college, my sophomore year, back in the mid '60s, or the latter part of the '60s, I was married, living off campus, and I took a job as a security guy for a Pontiac dealership that was having a lot of problems with people stealing things. And that during that time, well, you have to read this story. It wasn't all that confrontational. I just scared the hell out of some people with some rock salt. That's what's really happened. But they were stealing some things. But once that shot was fired, they didn't know that it was rock salt. They thought it was for real. But I didn't shoot them. I shot the back of the car that they were in. It was a little different story than what you're alluding to. But it frightened them, but then they thought that that was for real, and word like that spreads in a small town, particularly. And I never had any more problems. I could sleep through the night watchman job and not have to worry.
It only takes once.
Well, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you about
in a small town, word gets around. I grew up in a small town, so I knew what was going on. In a little place like Syracuse, there was if the guys that were stealing things knew that there was someone there that meant business and would fire a gun, that was enough that they'd go somewhere else. That's how that ended.
Right. I've always been curious about, like, even the guys that played before me and way before me. I've always been of the thought that when you get ready for a season as a running back, there's certain things that your body has to go through. You got to get hit a few times. You got to get tackled a few times. You got to have the ball pulled at you in live situations. And today, nobody plays in the preseason. And I always wonder, how can you get ready for a season without playing football?
Well, again, I don't want to be critical of what's happening today. It's a very competitive game. It comes right down to the wire many times. I think the days of ball control and a running game that particularly an inside running game. You're familiar with what I'm talking about. The Browns and several places you've been, you know what I'm talking about. The precision that goes into that, the rehearsal that goes into that, and being able to pull it off when you have somebody like Joe Green across from you, or Bob Lilly, somebody like that. A lot goes into it. It doesn't look as good as far as comparing today's running game against the power running game of yesteryear. No, I don't think it looks nearly as good, but that's in most cases. There might be some isolated cases that show up. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see this season, but
right.
There is a terrific difference. But now the passing game being enhanced so much with the rules, ball control is very few people will be able to claim that they have ball control, or that kind of ball control today. I don't see it happening much.
Go get Larry Csonka's book, available coming up on October 4th. Pre-order it now. Head On, a memoir. It looks like it's absolutely fantastic. It's going to have a lot of great stories in there for Dolphin fans to check out and every football fan to check out. Larry Csonka, thank you so much for the time. Before we get you out of here, you're going to continue tweeting during the games, correct? You are my favorite follow on social media during these Dolphin games. You are fired up. I love every time you react to these things. Will that continue this season?
Yes, it will. I like to watch the games, but I'm going to try to wait a little longer before I react so fast to so many things.
No.
Try to give our coach a chance here.
Doc, whoever's telling you that, no, you react how you want to react in that time. We need raw Larry Csonka in the moment. It's the best follow during the game.
You got it.
Thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Unc.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.